Hello, my crafty friend, and welcome to part 2 of my day 11 of my so-called 12 days of gifts to make series. I say so-called because, like so many things in life, my plan for this series has taken a turn I didn't expect, and that turn is day 11 is actually becoming day 11 and 12, and day 12 is going to become day 13 and 14. So it's not really 12 days of gifts to make anymore. It's more like 14 days in which we'll make 12 gifts. So yeah, I'm not gonna rename the series because I feel like what's done is done, but this is just yet one more example of how crafting can take on a life of its own and things don't always go as we plan. So anyhow, yesterday I hand colored over top of the original art prints of the paper doll and all of her beautiful outfits. So if you missed that video and you're curious about how I added the dimensional glitter or saturated all the colors in these, you might want to check out yesterday's video. If you don't want to check it out, then you probably don't want to watch this one either, because it is literally just going to be this. I'm going to be cutting out these paper dolls by hand and just showing you how, yeah, I guess how quick and easy it can be to do elaborate fussy cutting. And yet, when I posted a paper doll book on this channel recently of the dolls that I had cut out and made using, Cat Stone's art, I had some people comment things like, "Oh, you're so patient to do so much fussy cutting." But for me, if I've got like a podcast playing in the background, or my YouTube go-to is old episodes of Antiques Roadshow. So if I've got something to watch or listen to while I do this kind of busy work, cutting out printables to use in my journals, cutting out paper dolls, the sort of stuff that us crafters do because we have to do it if we don't have something like the Silhouette Cameo or other machines that cut things out like these for us. We can find a way to make them enjoyable. So yeah, maybe for you, listening to my craft along video series is something that you have going on in the background while you do your cutting or folding or assembling or beading or crocheting or whatever else it might be. And if that's the case, I am honored to become a part of your crafting ritual. That's pretty darn cool. So yeah, I'm on the little details on the bottom of the dress, I'm not being quite so meticulous, but when I get to the form of the doll's body, I'm going to be very careful to follow the lines exactly, because that is what will ensure that our dress fits the doll. So yeah, that's my only note. That's the only thing I'm gonna say regarding technique and cutting skill. So yeah, at this point here, where the dress is going to cover her legs, I'm going to try to follow the line exactly, but where it gets complicated, if I have to make the decision to angle my scissors in such a way that it cuts off part of her dress color or leaves a tiny bit of white showing, I'm opting to show that tiny bit of white, because that can always be fixed with a pencil crayon or with distress ink if you want to distress the edges and make it look a little bit more antiqued. But if you cut off part of the dress, that can never be fixed. Well, I mean, it can. You could collage over it. You could print out another one, but it can't be fixed in a lazy way. And I do try to maximize my crafting output while minimizing my crafting effort, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I started with this dress because this is one of the more complicated dresses, since we have all these little spiky details, and we also have some negative space within the image that will require an X-Acto knife. And I just wanted to show that you don't need to be scared of cutting out tiny details, and you don't need to be, what's the word for it? You don't need to go too slowly if you know how to cut in the lines. But yeah, so how are you? How is your lead up to the holiday season going? I've been so overjoyed by the comments on the videos in this little series. I've had so much fun reading about your Christmas memories and what kind of gifts you've given to people in the past and what significant gifts you've received. It's so much fun to hear about holiday magic. I spent my weekend, well, not just my boyfriend Kenley and I spent our weekend decorating for Christmas. And yeah, we don't have a big tree because we just don't have the space to put a big tree. A big fake Christmas tree, that is, since I guess the corner that would probably be the ideal corner for a Christmas tree has a cat tree already in it, and we're not going to displace the kitties just so that we can have a thing that they're not supposed to climb. So yeah, we've got a little wall-mounted Christmas tree that my mom gave me either last year or the year before, since I was in an apartment not big enough for a Christmas tree. And we also have a little mini tree that sits on a table. And yeah, I just got really inspired on the weekend to make our place look as Christmassy as possible. It's my first time celebrating Christmas with somebody I love who's as into it as I am. I've had boyfriends in the past at the holidays, but none of them were ever really into the holidays. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun for me to decorate with someone who appreciates the decorations and gets into it. So yeah, to jazz the place up a little bit and make it look more Christmassy, I took a big piece of paper and cut it down. I actually used a piece of wallpaper from a wallpaper roll and measured the center part of a kind of a hutch thing that we have under a wall-mounted TV. And on that piece of paper that fits perfectly in the center of the wall-mounted TV stand, do you even call it a stand if the TV is wall-mounted? I don't know. One of those consoles that would hold like an Xbox or something, which we don't use, so we use it to store art supplies. And we never watch that darn TV, but we don't know how to take it down because it's permanently affixed to the wall. So anyway, I covered up the TV with a gorgeous piece of red, white, and silver fabric that May sent me. And that made just the perfect little backdrop for my mini Christmas tree and the little ornaments that go along with it. And then on that piece of wallpaper, I painted kind of a cartoony, silly version of a fire and kind of taped it over the hutch to make it look like that hutch is a fireplace. So we have a place to hang our stockings. I hung my little tiny stocking because my big one is at my mom's house. But yeah, I took a picture of that and posted it on Instagram if anyone is curious to see. So yeah, I had a little bit of crafty fun off camera, not for YouTube, just for us. And yeah, my cousin Hannah commented on it that she's going to make one like it too, which is super cool. And I told her it wasn't my idea, it's a family tradition, because there was a year when our grandparents lived in a place, I forget which, it might have been St. Paul, Alberta. I'm thinking it probably was. But when her dad and my mom were little, leading up to Christmas, my grandma bought some of that, you know that stuff that you buy to line drawers that's like sticky paper? It's kind of like stick-on wallpaper. She bought some of that. I think maybe they just call it contact paper. She bought some contact paper that had a brick pattern and covered a huge cardboard box with it. And then in the center, built a fake fire so it looked like a real fireplace. So yeah, it's a thing that it's always been in the back of my head that if you don't have a fireplace at Christmas time, you can paint one. There we go. See how pretty? Very fancy. So yeah, that's my little crafty weekend activity. And of course, I've been planning for these videos and working on all the journals that I'm trying to finish. Those that are going to be Christmas gifts, and one that's a very special custom order, and I'm kind of treating it like a gift because I'm trying to fill it up with all of my favorite and best materials. So yeah, I'm curious to hear what you've been up to, how you decorate. Maybe you have a favorite ornament. And you know what? I'm deciding, even as I do this, that today's video is not going to be a long one. I am not going to stand here and cut out every single one of these doll dresses on camera, just simply because it's not very comfortable, as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer might say. It's not the most comfortable thing to stand at a standing desk, cutting out really meticulous little things like this, whilst attempting to fill the space with conversation and also attempting to avoid smacking the camera or the tripod. I can manage it when it comes to making mini journals or doing the other little crafts I've done in this series, but for the cutting, I need to kind of get my nose right up to the paper and have the freedom of arm movement to swing up and down, not just back and forth. You can probably tell the camera is right there. Oh, and sorry, I just deliberately did the thing that I usually try to avoid accidentally doing, just to show you how easy it could be for me to slip up and bang the camera. But anyway, yeah, I think these dolls look so incredible just as Kat made them. And it was actually her, of course, handmade artist craftiness that inspired me to color them in with pencil crayons and add the glitter, because I can see how she paints over her prints and adds glitter and makes it so that even the printed items have the magic of the artist's touch within them, which I think is just such a cool idea. So yeah, if you design printables, maybe you do digital art, maybe you do AI designs or whatever else it might be, I suggest, yeah, when you print out your work, take it to the next level by coloring it over with pencil crayons or maybe with some paint and adding that personal touch that only working with our hands can add. There we go. How pretty is she? Just the most glamorous paper doll I ever did see. So yeah, I've been thinking, who would these dolls make a great gift for? Well, obviously, people like us who love paper crafts. The kind of people, men, woman, or non-binary, you know, just people who love fashion, people who love elegance, people who love dress-up occasions. Somebody doesn't need to love paper dolls to love these paper dolls. I think someone just has to appreciate beautiful garments, and that's it. So maybe like a fashion design student would like to have things like these to use as bookmarks. Little girls, I think, would go crazy for them. When I was a little girl, I would have gone crazy for these. I remember one birthday, my Auntie Lorraine sent me a birthday card that had, like, inside, it came with stickers, a sticker set. And the stickers were of things like lipsticks and perfume bottles and pieces of jewelry and clothes. And when you took the sticker set, the sticker sheet off the page that was stuck to, beneath it was a picture of a little girl, like a cartoon of a little girl, made out of sticker paper. You know, the kind of paper sticker books are made out of, like this stuff. And anyway, yeah, so it was kind of like a sticker version of a paper doll. And yeah, you could peel and re-stick those stickers to decorate. I think it was the little girl sitting at a makeup mirror in a bedroom. So you could put the lipstick and perfume bottle where you wanted them on her little table, and you could put different hairstyles, like it came with different colored sticker wigs that were all sized to fit her head. And I forget how old I was, but I remember thinking, I'm so glad Auntie Lorraine didn't think I was too old for this, because I was probably darn close to junior high aged at the time. And she might have even written something in it like, I know you might be too old for this, but I couldn't resist. I don't remember the exact words, but I remember thinking, well, good thing she didn't think I was too old for this, because I love it. So yeah, the kind of girl who would love that card would also love these paper dolls. And in fact, I just thought of another idea. If they could be printed on sticker paper so that the dolls are adhesive, the dresses, so the dresses are adhesive, and the doll, if she could be printed on a background made out of glossy, non-stick kind of a paper, this could be that kind of a sticker book, couldn't it? Ooh, maybe I should design some perfume bottles and lipsticks and jewelry for her. Wouldn't that be fun? But you know what? I've got so many ideas already that I don't need any new ideas of what to make. I need more time to make the things I've already thought of. Do you have any projects like that? Like things that you've thought of making that get added to a list of possible future crafts that may or may never manifest? In fact, yeah, when Kat sent her last Happy Mail package that I will share with you when I'm good and ready to do something substantial with it, because it's worth sharing. Her work is just magnificent. Kenley looked over my shoulder as I was going through the goodies and said something along the lines of, well, I guess you'll never have to think about what to make ever again. Like, I've got inspiration for years. So yeah, I just love, love, love Kat's paper dolls. And I think this one will always be my favorite because it's the first one I saw and it's so special. And I really relate to the way she looks. You know, now that I think of it, there was another paper doll that I had when I was little. It was like a cardstock, kind of shiny printed paper doll that came with a book. I'm sure it was a Scholastic book, one of those books that you buy at your school book fair. And I was so excited that I got to spend the money my mom gave me for the book fair. I got to spend it on something that to me was more than just a book. It was also a toy. Since the paper dolls are so much fun to play with. That would have been grade 1 or grade 2. Did you have those growing up? I'm sure it's not just a Canadian thing. I've seen American television shows that talk about the Scholastic Book Fair coming to the schools. So yeah, we had those up here in Canada too. And they were always my favorite day because class as usual would be canceled. We'd all get to go to the school library. It would be converted into a veritable shopping mall filled with books and posters and educational toys like little science sets and grow your own artificial crystal kits and things like that. Things that I love. I was always the kid who I never really wanted toys for Christmas. I usually asked for, well, jewelry. But when I was told no, that I could not get jewelry for Christmas, my next request was always craft supplies. Like, okay, then I guess what I'd like instead is art paper, sketchbooks, things that I could use to make other things. Someone had commented, and I'm so sorry that I always start these kinds of anecdotes where I talk about your comments. I always start them by saying, somebody commented. It's not because I don't care to learn who said what. It's that I don't really have a good mind for remembering names when it's somebody who I haven't met in real life. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry if this was your comment. I don't mean to make it impersonal. I should, you know what, from now on, what I should try to do, if I'm going to bring up somebody's comment in a video, I should first write down next to me but off camera the name and maybe the exact words used in the comment so that I'm not paraphrasing and so that I'm not, you know, accidentally insulting anybody by forgetting who said which thing. Because it's not that I don't remember the names of those who comment. I do. I just don't remember off the top of my head who commented what. But anyway, I don't even remember what I was going to say somebody commented anymore. I got so distracted by trying to remember, wait, but who commented it? Anyhow. I know it had something to do with favorite gifts and being a kid, what we asked for, the Scholastic Book Fair. Anyway, it'll come to me as soon as I stop this video. Just like, okay, remember a couple days ago when I was making those, if you watched, I was making those birthstone pendants. Oh, I love this one. I love how that sparkle turned out. But anyway, when I was making those birthstone pendants, and at the end of the video, I showed you some of my very, very favorite pendants that I have in my Etsy shop. And one of them, I just couldn't for the life of me remember the name of the crystal. Well, sure enough, as I turned off the camera at the end of the video, have in sight, the name of that neon blue, gorgeous third eye throat chakra activating crystal popped right into my head as soon as I no longer needed it. That happens a lot, I think, to a lot of us. My mom told me she saw once, and I've heard this elsewhere as well, but the first time I heard it, it was from my mom, that our brains will continue to work on a task even when our conscious mind has moved on from the task. And that's why we might try to remember a name or a place or a song. And as long as we're trying to think of it, we can't, but then we move on, we start doing something else. And sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, sometimes days later, the thing we had tried to remember will just randomly pop up in our head and we'll be like, oh, that's what it is. And that's because the brain, which is still quite a mystery to us, will continue trying to retrieve the file, that memory file. And depending on how far back it's stored or what, I don't know. I don't know what affects the processing speed of our various brains, but it'll pop back into our minds and we'll think, well, geez, why do I remember this now? And it's like, because now is the time that your brain finished the task. It's kind of like if you have an intern and you send that intern for coffee and then you carry on with your work and then later that intern shows up and is like, oh, here's that coffee you asked for. If you no longer want that coffee, you might be like, well, geez, why are you bringing it now? Our brains are kind of like our interns like that. Mystically speaking, I am of the belief that our consciousness, our mind, is not a creation of the brain, but that the brain is the physical interface with which we access our mind and our consciousness. I don't know, maybe I'll talk more about that kind of stuff later when I start doing my crystal videos and my more mystical crafts for this channel, like making talismans. This is the one I was looking for. Okay, fun fact. When I was doing the coloring, I mentioned that Kat is not only a talented artist, but also a talented fashion designer. And how cool is this handbag? So she sent me a picture in Instagram of the life-size actual handbag that this is a drawing of. And she really made them and sent paper dolls with the matching handbags to the ladies who bought the purses. So how cool is that? How much would you love it if you ordered a purse from an independent designer, and when you received your purse, it also came with some original art of a paper doll who has the same purse? Oh, I was never into dolls. Okay, I was never into, I was born in 1984. And so that's the year Cabbage Patch Kids were crazy at Christmas. And obviously I don't remember that because I was a newborn baby. In fact, maybe it was my first birthday in 1985 when they were a big fad. But anyway, one of my mom's friends bought me a Cabbage Patch doll. And it was and is, I'm very, very sorry to anybody who loves Cabbage Patch Kids, but Jeebus Feist, it was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. They look like little, I don't know. I thought troll dolls were kind of cute because they're not pretending to be little people, but Cabbage Patch, ugh. I never liked them. But my grandma made matching crocheted turquoise dresses with little Peter Rabbit porcelain buttons for me and for that Cabbage Patch doll. And when I saw the Cabbage Patch doll in the dress handmade by my grandmother, it did kind of warm my heart to the doll a little bit. I thought it was pretty awesome that my doll and I had the same outfit. Yeah, I don't have that doll anymore, and I don't particularly miss her either. There was a year that, okay, so my mom raised me alone as a single mother. And I think that made her very compassionate and empathetic towards other single mothers, because there were a few years in which we participated in angel tree sort of things, you know, where you find out the name and the age of a child in need and that child's Christmas wish list, and you try to, you know, procure for them the things that they want. And yeah, so my mom would do that. And yeah, I'm sure my Cabbage Patch Kid, I remember her asking me, there were two toys in particular that had been mine that I never, ever played with. One was the Cabbage Patch Kid, and the other was a Curious George doll. And I loved stuffed animals. I was always more into stuffed animals than dolls. And I'm sure it's because I was more of an animal person than a people person. I loved cats and dogs and bunny rabbits and all the animals. And so stuffed animals felt to me like, you know, little creatures who need to be cared for. And dolls, and to me, I'm so sorry. I'm not saying this to offend those who love dolls, because a lot of the girls in my life, little cousins who I would babysit, and the daughters of friends and such, I know little girls who love dolls, and I love that they love dolls, and I would be more than happy to hug their dolls for their sake or to give them dolls. But when I was a little girl, I just was not like that. I preferred animals. But yeah, on the wish list of that little girl who we did the angel tree gifts for, she had put a Cabbage Patch doll. And so when my mom showed that to me, it was a no-brainer. Like, give it to somebody who's going to love it. Look at how quickly these are going. So I was going to do like 2 or 3 on camera. And now how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, they don't take that long. It's just a matter of deciding to do it and doing it. But yeah, and the Curious George. So even though he was technically a stuffed animal, there was something anthropomorphic about him, because Curious George could speak and he was dressed up in clothes, and that was not the type of animal that I loved. I loved real animals, not anthropomorphized, human-esque animal characters. So yeah, that made it more like a doll to me than like a stuffed animal. So I didn't feel bad watching him go. And it made me feel really good knowing that he was going to a little girl who would truly cherish him in a way that I couldn't. Yeah, I have a friend, a really successful entrepreneur, who was born in, not Rajasthan, maybe it was, no, Kashmir. She was born a Brahmin in Kashmir. And if you're not familiar with the politics or the history of India, the Kashmiri Brahmins are the victims of genocide by the invading forces trying to take over their part of northern India. It's very close to the Pakistani border. And there was a raid on her village when she was little. And she told me she and her family had to flee around midnight because they heard the militant anti-Hindus were storming the various homes of Brahmins in her community, and that their lives were at risk. And so they had to flee, and that her grandmother couldn't even take her jewelry, and that she, as a little girl, had to leave behind her doll. And so that's why I say, like, I know people feel attached to their dolls, and I can't imagine how I would have felt if that had happened to me when I was the age she was when it happened, if I had to flee without my stuffed animals. I remember at school we had a Did you guys have these? We had fire preparedness seminars where firefighters from the local fire, what do you call it, fire station would come in with a little fake house. I remember it was a Ronald McDonald fake firehouse, adding insult to injury because as a young vegetarian child, I hated McDonald's. So the fact that I had to like go into a McDonald's house at school made it even worse. But yeah, so they had these. Tell me if this happened to you too, because for me it was quite traumatic. They would have two firefighters would come to our school, and class by class, I was in grade 1 when this happened. So I was like 6 years old, 5 or 6. They would take our class to the gym where this like miniature house, complete with kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, like a little tiny house, was set up. And the firefighters told us very graphic stories about children getting burned alive because they got trapped in their house when it was set on fire, and that they could have lived if they had known what to do. So we were taught in kind of like a gym class phys ed drill sort of a manner. We were taught how to jump out a window of a burning house, hence the little mini house that we were shown. We had to take turns climbing up the little stairs of that house. The stairs were up like a wooden ladder. And then at the whistle of the firefighters, we had to scramble our little kid butts out the window and jump onto like a foamy pad that was outside the window while being yelled at. If you have a pet, leave your pet. If you have a doll, leave your doll. Don't bother stopping to get your coat. Don't try to save your parents. Just get out. Just get out. And my God, are grown-ups ever effing stupid if they think that this is the way to help kids be calm and not panic if ever their house burns down. Like, oh, I remember going home that night absolutely terrified that my house was going to catch fire because we were all told it could happen to you. It could happen to anybody. Even if your parents don't burn candles and don't smoke and remember to turn off the stove. You know, this can go wrong, that can go wrong. Nobody ever plans for a fire. Nobody knows it's going to happen. I remember losing sleep over it and asking my mom, you know, if the house catches fire, do you promise me that you'll wake up and leave because I'm not allowed to wake you up and get you? Like, okay, McDonald's. Murdering, torturing, and enslaving animals since 1960 whatever, and traumatizing the youth of southern Alberta since 1991. Or maybe they started before I was in grade 1. But anyway, random little story that I just thought of now because it's connected to how much I loved my stuffed animals. I think the thing that I was the most scared of when they spoke about that fire was that we were not allowed to try to save our animals. And I didn't have pets yet at that age, so my stuffed animals were kind of like my pets. Yeah, I don't want to say, do any of you share that same trauma? But if you do, I can relate. It definitely gave me a fire phobia. And I also remember when it came time for me to jump out that little window of that little house, I had kind of a mild fear of heights and I didn't want to do it. So I remember thinking, like, if this was actually on fire and my only way to get out of the burning, blasting heat or the unbreathable smoky air, of course I would have thought this with the limited vocabulary I had as a first grade student. But I remember thinking, if this was a real fire, I could do it. But why do I have to jump and risk twisting my ankle or something just for the sake of making these grown-ups feel like I learned the lesson they've been instructed to teach me? I've always had kind of a streak of questioning my authority. And that's probably because I found out you know, the horrors of what meat is made of at a young age, and then kind of felt like all the grown-ups I had ever known had lied to me or had fed me the product of murder of animals. That kind of made me, you know, now that I think of it too, the Ronald McDonald House, not the children's hospice, but the fire safety thing, it must have been in grade 2, not in grade 1, because grade 2 was the year that I went vegetarian. I was 7 years old at the time, not 6 years old. So yeah, so it must have been grade 2. Because yeah, I remember saying to whoever it was, like the teacher, I don't want to go in there. That's I don't eat meat. And I remember her saying, well, there's no meat. There's no McDonald's food in it. It's, you know, you have to go in. The things grown-ups do because they think it's normal or they think it's required. Yet when I was approaching university age, I told my mom that I would probably just become a teacher like her and like my Auntie Mary Lynn. I couldn't really think of what else I wanted to do for work. And she kind of sat me down in a, intervention is too strong of a word for it, but she sat me down and explained that teachers do not get to choose what they teach. They have a government mandated curriculum that they have to teach. So she said, you know, if you don't believe, for example, when it comes to social studies, if you don't think that the white people who colonized North America were right in what they did, you can't tell the kids that they committed genocide against the First Nations people. You have to say what the textbook says. When you're teaching health class, you have to teach the food pyramid as it is outlined by the Canadian government, regardless of your understanding of, you know, dairy and meat lobbyists trying to make their poisons sound palatable. So yeah, that kind of stopped me from becoming a teacher, was realizing, you know, you can't change the system. You can't always change the system by becoming a part of it. So yeah, all I can do is hope that kids these days are not being frightened by that house. And you know what, even as I say it, I'm sure there's somebody out there who has a story that this fire safety thing came to their school and because of it they knew what to do in an emergency and it saved their life. Like, I'm not saying that kids shouldn't be taught how to escape a burning house. I'm saying they should be taught in a way that's less traumatizing. Anyway, you know what? Why not? Why don't I just go ahead and do all of these today? Show you how easy it can be, and then tomorrow, do I want to spoil it? Yeah, why not? If you saw the video I made of the birthday gift book that I made for my lovely friend May, or if you saw the flip through of the paper doll book that I made for my Etsy shop, the big lavish one with backgrounds I digitally designed for all of these outfits, you'll probably know what it is. But yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do a tutorial for making those paper doll background books. And it'll be about the size of the one that I made for May. Not the huge full-sized version, because that would take, well, actually that took me over a month of crafting to make that book. But the one I made for May, I spent about a week working on it. So I'm not going to go into all the little things I put in her book because that would be impossible to do on camera. Well, never say impossible. That would require many hours of filming and crafting to get it on camera. So instead I'm going to do just the paper doll background pages and how I put them together, and then how I find trim to hide the white edges to make it look really luxurious. So yeah, it's kind of like a tall, slim journal, like made just from an 8.5 by 11 cardstock. But anyway, yeah, you'll see that when I get to it. So in preparation for tomorrow's video, I was thinking off camera when I finish this, I'll cut out the rest of the dolls, like the ones I don't get to. But yay, it looks like I'm getting to all of them. This is another thing that happens to me. I'll start a video thinking, what am I gonna talk about today? What if this craft takes me an hour and I run out of conversation? But luckily, that has not happened yet. As my mom says, I have the gift of gab. So yeah, it's kind of like all of us YouTube crafters feel from time to time, I guess, like we are podcasters. We've got to do lots and lots and lots of talking. But yeah, like I said earlier in the video, I'm so grateful for the wonderful comments that I've read beneath videos in this series, because it's given me so much more confidence to just be myself and craft away and make mistakes and not worry about it too much and go quiet when I'm doing something intricate and trust that you have the patience to understand that sometimes we don't always know what to say. So yeah, thank you. If you're one of my lovely viewers who left such a comment. This outfit, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I'll remember to do this tomorrow. I forgot to wear my Starship Enterprise ring that I talked about in the video when I was sharing, you know, the best gifts I ever gave and the best gifts I ever received. Because yeah, that Starship Enterprise ring was the best gift I've ever had a part in giving. And this outfit by Kat, just to me, it has such a 1960s away mission Star Trek-y vibe to it. I love it so much. It's so different from all the other outfits. But yeah, if you have a little girl or a fashion fan or a junk journaling friend who has not seen these before, printing out, coloring in, and then cutting out a set of paper dolls just for her might just be one of her favorite crafty gifts ever. Let me know, would you be happy? Say if you didn't know my channel and hadn't heard of Kat Stone's gorgeous art, if somebody gifted you a set of these paper dolls that they colored in and added glitter to and cut out by hand and arranged in a nice little book that included backgrounds to complement the outfits, how would you like it? Because I think it would be a great gift, but maybe I'm biased because I just love them so much. But yeah, would you like these as a gift? Would you give these as a gift? Yeah, I gave these as a gift to May for her birthday. And she told me she loved them, so yeah. But you know what? May is such a sweetheart. I bet she would tell me she loved the thing I gave her, no matter what it might be. It's such a blessing to have made so many real life crafty friends because of this YouTube channel. You know, I know May because she saw my videos. I know Kat because she saw my videos. I know Martina because I think I commented on one of her videos first and then she saw some of mine. It's just wonderful to have a community of people who all share the same creative passion and the same sort of aesthetic taste. I love it. And there you go, less than an hour, 49 minutes and 20 seconds to be exact. And there is now a complete set that includes a paper doll and 11 unique outfits for her. So yeah, really cool, really fun, really vibrant. This set of paper dolls could be a gift in its own right. But as you'll see tomorrow, you can take it a step further if you choose to give this to someone and make a little matching book to go along with it. So I hope you had fun with me while I did my cutouts, while I complained about school memories and brought up others. Hopefully it was a little entertaining for you to listen to. Thank you for listening to the whole thing if you did. And I look forward to tomorrow's video where I'll be making the book to house this beautiful paper doll set. So yeah, I feel like I saved the best for last with my 12 Days of Gifts to Make series because this is my favorite of all the gifts that I make this year. So thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays, happy crafting. So much love to you. Until next time, bye for now.